Good afternoon, everybody. Today I am going to be making lasagna. And when I decide to make lasagna, usually it's because I go in my freezer and I have all of these different cheeses and I'm like, okay, I got to make some room. Because normally when I buy cheese, I put it in the freezer because I don't use it every day and I hate to waste. So it goes in the freezer. So when I looked at my freezer today, I have mozzarella, provolone, I have 6 cheese Italian, I have Parmesan, I have Italian blend, I have some mozzarella, some more parm, and some sharp cheddar. I'm going to put these in a bowl. I'm going to mix them all up, and those are going to be my layers. I don't use ricotta or cottage cheese. I don't like the texture. So if you use that, awesome. That's just something I don't like. I never have. So I just use a blend of different cheeses, and it kind of makes its own little flavor. So what you're going to need is you're going to need 1.5 to 2 pounds of hamburger meat. You're going to need onion, bell pepper, or you could buy the seasoning blend, which is what I do. I buy this seasoning blend. It's got onion, bell pepper, and celery. It's got the red and the green, so I just use this seasoning blend. You're going to need, of course, your lasagna noodles. You're going to need a can of diced tomatoes. I like to get the roasted garlic and onion or the Italian blend, or you could just get regular. That's fine. You're going to need a small can of tomato paste, and you're going to need 1 large sauce or 2 sauces because you're making a bigger batch of sauce. You're going to need your salt and pepper. You're going to need some garlic powder. I use my mixed up salts. I just use it in everything. It's a really good seasoning blend, but you don't have to have that, of course. And then we're going to have Italian seasoning. So I'm going to get the meat started, and I'll be right back. Okay, so once you put your meat in the pan, I like to season my meat while it's cooking versus after it's browned. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sprinkle my salt over the top. It's usually how I do it. You may have to go back, of course, and add more. But the way I judge it is usually I make sure I sprinkle all over the top. And that usually gives me enough, to be honest. I mean, sometimes I will have to add, more salt or Italian seasoning. But overall, this usually winds up making it, the right season for me. Now, the Italian seasoning, I am going to add a little bit now, but the rest of it I do add later. I had some of my seasoning mix left over in a baggie, so I'm going to use that first, and then I'm going to add some more. So you're probably, if you were doing this without the seasoning blend, I would say 1 onion and 1/2 bell pepper because you don't want it to be too sweet. Okay, so I'm going to get my garlic chopped up. I'm going to throw that in there as well. I'm going to get this stirred, and once the vegetables are clear and all of the meat is brown, we'll start adding in our tomato sauces. Okay, sorry. So as you can see, the vegetables are clear and the meat is all brown. So I'm going to go ahead and start adding in my tomato sauce and paste. So I'm going to add in that, and we're just going to kind of pour everything in. And then get it stirred up. Now, of course, the paste is always thick, so you got to kind of scoop that out. And then what I do with my water, the way I usually measure my water, is I put a can, I fill the can up with water. So I got that one, and then I'm going to do one of these small ones. And, that way you get all the good stuff out, and you can stir up, get all the sauce and all the paste. So just get that all mixed in here. And if you need to, you can add a little bit more water. I've got this right now on a medium high. But I'm going to be turning it down once everything comes back up to a boil. I'm going to turn this to medium, and I'm going to cover it. And I'll simmer it for probably 30-45 minutes. I'll taste it and see if it needs any more salt, pepper, Italian seasoning, or whatever it may need. So I'm going to get this finished stirred up. I'm going to cover it up, and we're going to let it simmer. Okay, so it's been simmering about 45 minutes, so I'm going to do my first little taste test to see if it needs anything. Okay. So to me, it's going to need a little bit more salt. Remember when you're cooking with tomatoes or bell peppers, things like that, they are sweet. So a lot of times your sauce will taste a little sweet. Just add a little bit more salt. I'm adding more garlic powder and Italian seasoning because, again, it's kind of sweet to me, and I'm not tasting them. All the herbs. So I'm going to go ahead and mix this. We're going to turn this back. It's on a medium low because we just wanted it, we want it to just simmer now. We're really not trying to cook it anymore. We're just keeping it simmering so that all the sauce has time to really everything soak in. So I'm going to cover this back up. I'm going to let it simmer some more while I get the noodles done. So I'll be right back. Okay, so once you get your noodles done, it's just water. I put salt in it. Once they get to that al dente stage, we're going to cool this down, put some cold water, leave the water in it, and we're going to start building our lasagna. So just give me 1 minute to get these cooled down enough that I can touch them. Okay, so while you're doing this, you need to have your oven preheating to 350 degrees, and you're just going to lay out your lasagna noodles. This is a 9x13 pan. This is the perfect size from what I found. And yes, I do break some of these, so you get the long ones, and then you have your short ones to finish out. Of course, you may have to still break some, things like that. So you just get a layer down. Could have cut this, but I'm just going to do this real quick. All right, and then what I do is before I put my sauce, I put a layer of Parmesan cheese onto the noodles themselves. You don't have to do this, and if you have that jar Parmesan, you can do that as well. But once you get that, then you're going to layer on. And just so you make sure that you have enough, because you're wanting to do 3 layers. You want enough sauce on there, but you want to make sure that you're not putting too much on the bottom layer, and then you get to the next layer and you're like, oh crap, I don't have any more sauce. So that's another reason why I said to make sure you use the large can of tomato paste, or tomato sauce, or 2 of the small ones, because if not, you're not going to have enough. All right, so as you can see, I mixed up all my cheeses. I just put them in the bowl, and you can use whatever cheese you like, to be honest with you. I've never really said, oh, you can only use this or only use that, because to me it's to taste. And when you add the different mozzarellas and the Italian blend and the even sharp cheddar, it just makes your lasagna taste so good, and you could tell it's completely homemade. You don't have that store-bought taste, or even in restaurants where they put a lot of Italian seasoning in between their layers. It kind of, I don't know, and I can't stand ricotta cheese. I'm sorry, y'all, I don't like cottage or ricotta. That texture just grosses me out. So once you do that, you're just going to repeat your layers, and I'm going to get these other layers done, and I'll be right back. Okay, now it's fixing to go in the oven. I used up all the cheese. You don't have to use as much cheese as I did, but I went ahead and finished off the top with the rest of the cheese. And if you're guessing this probably weighs about 10 pounds, you're probably right. I'm going to get this in the oven for about 30 minutes or until the cheese is all melted and brown, and I'll be back. Okay, so it just came out of the oven. It's been 30 minutes, and as you can see, the cheese is melted and brown. I'm going to let this rest for about 10 minutes because it's super, super hot. And the longer you let it sit, the more time it has time to kind of firm back up as far as the juices and all that stuff. But I'm usually impatient, so I'll wait about 10 minutes, and I will cut into it, and we'll give it a taste test. Okay, so it's been 10 minutes, and I just went ahead and cut a couple of pieces here. It is about to storm here, so I want to get this over to my mom and dad before the lightning gets me. So here you go. I'm just going to show you that real quick. See all them cheeses? Let me grab a fork. Okay, as you can tell, it's nice and cheesy. I'm going to take a bite real quick. Oh my goodness. So good. Perfect balance of those cheeses and the tomatoes. Absolutely yummy. Y'all have any questions? Let me know. If not, make you some and enjoy, y'all.